everybody, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be doing my April wrap up. I didn't read an awful lot in April and I'm still not really... I thought I found my reading mojo and I read several books in quite close proximity to each other, like I finished several books quite quickly, but I don't know. I don't think I've picked up a book physically to read. I've probably picked up a book or two, but I don't think I've picked up a book physically and read it in over a week now. Don't quite know what's going wrong with me. I even toyed with the idea of adding in my March reads into this video, but I just don't know how relevant that content is, and I just don't want to be repeating myself and being too repetitive. So I thought I would just come on, do a quick video, tell you a little bit about the books that I read in April, and then we can go from there. I'm going to refrain from doing TBR videos. I think I have discussed this previously, just because I don't want to put too much pressure on reading certain things, and at the moment, with not reading an awful lot, it's difficult. I don't want to be adding extra things into the mix and then reading none of it. I don't want to do a TBR for the sake of doing a TBR and then not following it at all. So let's get into the monthly reading wrap up. The first book that I finished in April was Carrie, Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I really enjoyed this. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I was really surprised. I watched Destiny, Sarah and Hayley's all getting together. If you don't follow them on YouTube, you should. 3 booktubers all came together and they all recommended books for each other to read, and it was really fun series of videos to watch. And one of them read Carrie, Soto is Back and was recommended it and had said that they had put off reading it because it was about tennis and they weren't a massive fan of tennis, blah blah blah. And I have to admit, I had put it off because I wasn't massively interested about the character. From, you know, we'd had a glimpse of the character in Malibu Rising and I just wasn't massively interested. But I picked this up and the only way I can describe it, and I think I've said this before in a video, is like Taylor Jenkins Reid writes crack on the page. It's so addictive. Her writing is so addictive. I've become so invested and so absorbed by her characters and everything that she creates that it just, I have no choice. I just soak it up. I read it super quickly, and I even, when I was like reading this, was really on the edge of my seat with some of the tennis matches that we kind of play along with, we read along with, and you know, as things are progressing through the story, you're kind of really rooting for the characters. And when I was finishing it, I was like, I wonder when Wimbledon is, and I wonder if I should watch it this year. That is not like me at all. But I was actually contemplating watching Wimbledon and watching tennis and getting into tennis. There's just something about what this author does. I don't know what it is and what the magic ingredient is, but everything is just so, I think it's everything so real, and you can really imagine these in the real world. I don't know, but really enjoyed this. And continuing on with the enjoying everything that I read by Taylor Jenkins Reid kind of bandwagon, I haven't been let down as such by a book from her before, so really looking forward to what they bring out next. And I was watching an interview the other day about Daisy Jones and the Six, about the TV release, and it was a kind of an episode that not an episode, it was an interview that she did with Kelly Clarkson, and just her talking about her research process and everything. You just know that this author is just so genuine and puts a lot of effort and research and hard work into what she writes as well. So massive respect to that. The next book that I finished was Firefly Lane by Kristin Hannah. I really enjoyed this book. I found it interesting because I went into it having watched the majority of the TV show beforehand, so I kind of knew what to expect storyline wise, character wise. I kind of already had the characters formed because of the TV show, so just bear that in mind with what my kind of thoughts are on this. But this was really interesting because this was completely linear, so it starts from the beginning in the 70s, when Kate Malarkey and Tallulah Hart first meet, and then it progresses through time in a linear fashion. In the TV show, we kind of have an undercurrent of what's the current timeline, which is sort of like early 2000s, and then we have a couple of different timelines that we're experiencing. So the kind of the girls when they're at school in the late 70s, early 80s, and then we kind of have a timeline through the 80s when they're first working, and you kind of have like a couple of different timelines that are progressing on. Sorry if you can hear my other half in the background. And that is not how it's done in this book, but I like the way that it's done in both, and I think they both have their own merit. And I think if I'd read this first, I would have enjoyed this off its own bat, and if you had just watched the TV show, I would have enjoyed that too. Like, they both have their own appeal. The book and the TV show do have differences, just like anything, and it was really interesting reading kind of like the subject matter, like the core text that was used, the story that was originally written, and I found this massively emotional. I don't want to give too much away, but it's basically about Tallulah Hart and Kate Malarkey and their friendship through decades and kind of what they face, and it's got lots and lots of big messages behind it, and this was so special, and also really, really moving and touching at the end, and lots of character growth, lots of character development, and really interesting, like I say, to kind of see the differences. And I have, since finishing this, I have binged the last episodes. The last episodes of the TV show were released at the end of April, and I have binged them and watched them all. I was a mess again, but yeah, really, really enjoyed this. I have only ever read the Kristen Hanna's The Nightingale. I haven't read anything else by this author, so I definitely want to check more out by this author. I picked up on eBay cheap the second book in this series. I can't remember what it's called. Fly Away, which I think might tie in more with some of the stuff that we see in that kind of like newest batch of episodes. So I am definitely going to pick that up soon, and I did really want to read that before the new episodes came out, or before I watched the new episodes, but I didn't have any restraint. So yes, I will be reading Fly Away soon as well. See, I said this is going to be a quick video. I've talked about 2 books and I've already been filming for like 7.5 minutes. The next book that I read was Dating Dr Dill by Nisha Sharma. I really enjoyed this. I thought this was really fun. I loved the kind of text conversations. You get some sort of like multimedia, you get some text conversations between different characters, and you also get these kind of like news snippets, which are like from a agony aunt as such. And this is very kind of like in a similar vein to, what is the TV program on Netflix? It's called Never Have I Ever. It kind of gives me that, but like grown up that vibes. We're following Karina and Dr Prem Varma. Karina basically, they live in the house that her mother built, and her mother is no longer with them, and her father wants to sell, and she wants to buy the house from her father. But she knows that there is money in a sort of dowry for her wedding, so basically she kind of creates this fake dating, fake kind of proposal thing, potentially, to try and get hold of the money. And Dr Prem Varma is somebody that doesn't believe in love. He doesn't believe that I'm struggling to kind of put it into words, but he believes that there's like, love isn't the be all and end all, and it's bad for your health and stuff like that. Anyway, really, really, really interesting, really, really fun, light, quick read, but also kind of covers some kind of more serious topics as well. Highly recommend, highly recommend, for anybody that likes something a little bit fun and light, romance, but also, like I say, if you've got a gap from Never Have I Ever that needs filling, this is probably quite a nice one. The aunties in it were just very reminiscent of that series and kind of that vibe, and yeah, I really enjoyed it, and definitely going to see if I think there's more going to be released in this. This is a series, And I think they're also supposed to be Shakespeare retellings as well. And there is definitely going to be more. So I'm intrigued to see what characters kind of get depicted in the next books in the series. And then the final book I have to talk about is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. The first thing I just want to say about this book is that I would check the trigger warnings before picking this up if you haven't read this yet, because this was a really, really difficult read, and it wasn't something or a subject that I find triggering, but it was still very emotional and very hard for me to read. So definitely check out the trigger warnings on this one. Before picking it up. Colleen Hoover is somebody that just seems to hit the nail on the head and describe things in such a way that's so real and very, very emotional. And this one was quite a quick read for me. I think I read it in a day. But I mean, to put it into perspective, it was 305 pages, and I kind of felt like I flew through it. But it was still really difficult, and it was still a really difficult read. This is about characters Quinn and a love interest. It starts with her meeting a character at her fiance's front door, and they both find their cheating partners basically in the apartment together. And then a year after, they kind of reconnect. So these two people that have both kind of ended up in the same place with their cheating partners in a room, cheating on each other with each other, and then they kind of like fate brings them together again a year later, and it's kind of about their relationship, but there's so much more to it than that. And the idea of, you know, kind of loving somebody and they're perfect, and I'm not being very articulate, am I? But I really enjoyed this, and I thought it was interesting to read, and not something that I think I would necessarily, if I knew the subject matter, might not have picked up, but definitely worth a read if, like I say, this is something that you wouldn't find triggering, because really was eye-opening to me about maybe how you talk about certain subjects and what you say and how you say it. So very interesting, very interesting to listen to. And I think sometimes, even though these might be difficult subjects to read about, I think sometimes they have a greater purpose, because even though it might be difficult, you have a better knowledge and a better understanding of a particular subject and know how to deal with a particular subject much better in the long run, if that makes sense. But I'm still enjoying everything that I'm reading by Colleen Hoover as well, so that's a good thing. So here are the 4 books that I read in April, and hopefully there will be more on my May list. I am really hoping. I don't quite know what's going on at the moment. I'm in a bit of a reading rut. I'm in a bit of a slump, and I think like maybe I just need to put this aside, the book that I've actually got on the go at the moment. For anyone that's interested, it's Aurora Rising by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, which is a sort of sci-fi. I think maybe I need to put that just to one side for now, and maybe pick up something fresh, something that I've really got like a burning desire to read. Because even though I was enjoying that, I haven't had the burning desire to pick it up and kind of carry on with it. So I think maybe read something that I'm really excited to read and get back into the swing of reading again, and just getting that back part of my routine, because like I say, I've not read in over a week now. I didn't pick up a book all weekend, which is so not like me. I mean, I was watching Firefly Lane, but you know. So yeah, I think I need to kind of get back into the rhythm of it all, and then fingers crossed next month's wrap up will be a little bit more maybe diverse as well, because I feel like there was a lot of romance, but maybe yeah, maybe have a few more books on there for me to talk about. So thank you very much for watching this video. I'd love to hear about what books you read in April, and whether there was any that stood out to you, whether you've got a favourite book from the month. I'd love to hear it down below in the comments. Thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!